Ma'am, this establishment requires proper attire and identification. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. The words cut through the marble lobby of First National Bank like a blade. Dr. Amara Williams stood frozen at the premium banking counter, her Harvard MBA suddenly worthless against the wall of judgment before her. She'd rushed straight from the airport in travel clothes. Dark jeans, white sneakers, navy hoodie. The urgent wire transfer couldn't wait until Monday. Other customers turned to stare. Someone's phone camera tilted her direction. In 60 seconds, she'd transformed from respected executive to suspected problem case. These black stories happen daily across America, touching stories that reveal how quickly dignity vanishes when assumptions take control. Have you ever been judged by your appearance in the most humiliating way possible? Rebecca Morrison's posture shifted the moment Amara approached the teller window. Arms crossed, leaning backward, speaking with deliberate slowness, as if addressing a confused child. I need to see multiple forms of identification, proof of employment, and your account history going back 6 months. Morrison's eyes remained fixed on her computer screen. We've had issues with people trying to access accounts that don't belong to them. Amara glanced sideways. The elderly white man who'd just completed his transaction had shown only his driver's license. The young blonde woman currently at window 3 waved a single credit card while accessing her safe deposit box. I've banked here for 12 years, Amara said quietly, account ending in 7492. Morrison's fingers hesitated over the keyboard. I'll need to verify that with my supervisor. A teenager at the customer service desk lifted her phone. Instagram Live notification glowed. Y'all seeing this discrimination happening right now at First National downtown? The viewer count climbed. 47, 68, 112. Amara checked her Patek Philippe, a detail Morrison missed entirely while studying Amara's hoodie with obvious disapproval. I have exactly 10 minutes before my conference call with Federal Reserve Board members, Amara said, her voice steady. Branch manager Patricia Hendricks emerged from her glass office, surveying Amara's casual attire with barely concealed disdain. Her navy blazer and pearl necklace seemed like armor against anything she deemed inappropriate. Miss, we take security very seriously here, Hendricks announced, loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our other locations. The coded language landed like a physical blow. Other locations. The branches in predominantly black neighborhoods with slower internet, older equipment, reduced services. I need to wire $150,000 0 cents to my company's Hong Kong account, Amara replied. Today. Hendricks's eyebrows lifted. That's quite a substantial amount. We'll need extensive documentation for transactions of that size. A first-class boarding pass protruded slightly from Amara's hoodie pocket. JFK to Dubai, dated yesterday. Her worn leather briefcase bore faint embossing, Williams Family Foundation. When her phone buzzed, the screen showed Janet, Treasury, before she silenced it. I may have a... The Instagram Live viewer count reached 267. Comments flooded the feed. This is 2024. Record everything. I know her. That's Dr. Williams. Morrison returned with a thick folder of forms. You'll need to complete these verification documents. The process typically takes 45 minutes to 2 hours. 2 hours? Amara's voice remained level. To access my own account? Our fraud prevention protocols are very thorough, Hendricks interjected, especially for unusual requests. Unusual requests. The phrase hung in the air like an accusation. Amara's banking app notification chimed softly. Account balance preview. $847,000 0 cents. Checking, $2.30 M savings. Corporate credit line, $50 0 cents M available. The screen was visible for exactly 3 seconds before she closed it. Timestamp, 2:47 p.m., the Instagram Live host whispered to her phone. 7 minutes left on her call. A well-dressed black businessman entered the lobby, immediately recognizing the tension. His eyes moved from Amara to the teller to the growing crowd of onlookers. He'd seen this movie before. Hendricks opened her desk drawer, retrieving the Corporate Security Protocols Handbook. The thick manual seemed designed for intimidation rather than reference. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside while we verify your identity through our fraud prevention department," she announced. "This process cannot be rushed." The banking app chimed again. This time, the notification read, "Jerome Fed," with a message preview. Emergency monetary policy discussion moved to 2:55 p.m. Critical, your input on community banking regulations. Amara's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. The irony tasted bitter, discussing community banking discrimination while experiencing it firsthand. Security guard Marcus Thompson approached reluctantly. A black man in his 50s, he recognized the impossible position he'd been placed in. His radio crackled with corporate security protocols, but his eyes reflected the shame of what he was witnessing. The Instagram live count hit 1,200 viewers. Local news alerts began pinging on phones throughout the lobby. Banking while black started trending in the city's social media feeds. Morrison printed additional forms with unnecessary flourish. "I'll also need documentation of your employment, recent pay stubs, and references from current financial institutions." "References?" Amara asked. "To access my own account?" "It's bank policy for high-risk transactions," Hendricks replied, though no such policy existed in writing. Timestamp 2:49 p.m. 5 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. The titanium American Express Centurion card peeked from Amara's wallet. A card requiring $5,000, 0 cents annual fees, and $250,000, 0 cents minimum spending. Morrison's eyes caught the distinctive metal surface, but dismissed it as likely fraudulent. 2 more phones joined the recording. The lobby's atmosphere grew electric with tension and anticipation. Regular customers began whispering among themselves, some uncomfortable with the spectacle, others eager to witness the outcome. Amara stood perfectly still, her briefcase at her side, watching 12 years of customer loyalty dissolve into suspicion and bias. Her financial relationship with this institution had generated millions in fees and interest. Her foundation's accounts supported community development projects across 3 states. None of that mattered now. Only appearance, only assumptions, only the dangerous comfort of prejudice disguised as policy. Marcus Thompson's radio crackled, with instructions from corporate security. His weathered face reflected the moral conflict playing out inside him. Duty to his employer versus recognition of blatant injustice. "Ma'am, I need to ask you to step over here," he said quietly, his voice carrying apologetic undertones that Hendricks didn't catch. The Instagram live viewership exploded to 2,100. Comments streamed faster than the host could read them. "This is insane. Call the news. She's about to miss her Fed call because of racism." Manager Hendricks returned with her security handbook, flipping through laminated pages with theatrical precision. "According to Section 4.7 of our customer verification protocols, we have the right to request additional documentation for suspicious account access attempts." Suspicious? The word escaped Amara's lips like a question. Unusual clothing, inability to provide standard identification, requesting large wire transfers. Hendricks checked boxes on her mental list. These factors combined create what we call a risk profile. An elderly white customer behind Amara shifted uncomfortably. "Excuse me, but she was here first and this seems excessive," he said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. Hendricks whirled around. "Sir, please step back. We're handling a security matter that doesn't concern you." The alliance forming behind Amara shifted the lobby's energy. The live stream chat exploded with supporters. 3 local news vans pulled into the parking lot, alerted by social media monitoring systems that tracked trending hashtags. Timestamp 2:51 p.m., 3 minutes and 47 seconds remaining. Morrison emerged from behind her counter with additional forms. "I'll need you to complete this suspicious activity report as well. It's required for all unusual transactions." "You want me to file a suspicious activity report on myself?" Amara asked, her voice maintaining its measured calm despite the absurdity. "It's bank policy," Morrison replied, though she'd never required this of any other customer. Amara's phone buzzed insistently. The screen displayed Board Chair Richardson with a text preview. "Emergency monetary policy vote moved up. Need you on call in 90 seconds. Community banking discrimination agenda item first." The cosmic irony struck like lightning. She was about to miss a Federal Reserve discussion on banking discrimination while being discriminated against by a bank. The federal regulators would be wondering where their expert witness had disappeared to. Dr. Amara Williams, the same woman who'd testified before Congress on community banking equity, who served on 3 federal financial advisory committees, who'd written policy papers on discriminatory lending practices, stood in a bank lobby being treated like a potential criminal. News crews began setting up outside. The first reporter, Maria Santos from Channel 7, recognized the trending story's potential impact. Her camera operator framed shots of the bank's entrance while she prepared for a live broadcast. Inside, Hendricks made her fatal miscalculation. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to empty your pockets and bag," she announced, loud enough for the entire lobby to hear. "We need to verify you haven't taken anything that doesn't belong to you." The lobby fell into shocked silence. Even Morrison looked startled by her manager's overreach. Security guard Thompson's radio slipped from his hand, clattering on the marble floor. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. 12 years of banking relationships, millions in assets, federal advisory positions, reduced to a suspected shoplifter in designer jeans and running shoes. Instagram Live viewer count 3,400 and climbing. Banking while black trends nationwide. Dr. Amara Williams begins appearing in posts as viewers recognize her face from financial news programs. The well-dressed customer who'd earlier spoken up pulled out his own phone and began recording. "This is absolutely unacceptable," he muttered, loud enough to be heard. A young Latina mother with 2 children whispered to her husband in Spanish. He nodded grimly, recognizing discrimination in any language. Their own experiences with bank prejudice made them natural allies in this unfolding drama. Amara stood perfectly still, her eyes never leaving Hendricks' face. Her breathing remained controlled, her posture erect. 12 years of building wealth, creating jobs, supporting communities. 12 years of proving herself in boardrooms and congressional hearings. All of it meaningless against the comfortable prejudice of assumption. Timestamp 2:52 p.m., 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Her phone buzzed again. "Janet, where are you? Fed call starting. We need your community banking input immediately." The news crews outside multiplied. Channel 4, Fox affiliate, local NBC station. Social media managers at news organizations recognized a story with viral potential and national implications. Inside the lobby, tension reached a breaking point. Customers formed unofficial camps, those recording and supporting Amara, those looking away uncomfortably, and a few nodding approval at what they saw as appropriate security measures. Morrison printed yet another form. "I'll also need 3 references who can vouch for your character and financial standing." Character references. To access her own money in 2024. The absurdity transcended parody and entered the realm of constitutional violation. Amara's legal mind cataloged each discriminatory action, each policy applied selectively, each word that would sound devastating in a federal courtroom. But she wasn't thinking about lawsuits. She was thinking about power. Real power. The kind that reshapes systems rather than just winning individual battles. The kind that creates lasting change rather than temporary victories. Her briefcase sat at her feet, unopened. Inside lay documents that could alter the trajectory of this institution's future. Not threats or lawyers' letters, but something far more devastating. Regulatory authority backed by federal law. Timestamp, 2:53 p.m., 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining. The call she was about to miss would discuss new enforcement mechanisms for the Community Reinvestment Act, penalties for discriminatory banking practices, real-time monitoring systems, federal oversight expansion. Hendricks had no idea she was discriminating against the woman who'd helped design those very enforcement mechanisms. The irony was about to become justice. Amara didn't raise her voice, didn't argue, didn't threaten lawyers or lawsuits or bad publicity. She simply opened her banking app and began executing a series of transactions in full view of everyone present. Her fingers moved across the screen with surgical precision. Each tap deleted years of banking relationship with the quiet efficiency of digital justice. Transfer initiated, $2,300,000, 0 cents, from First National Savings to Chase Private Client. Confirmed. Transfer initiated, $847,000, 0 cents, From checking to Goldman Sachs Private Banking. Confirmed. Corporate credit line, $50 million, 0 cents limit transferred from First National to JP Morgan Chase. Confirmed. Williams Family Foundation Endowment, $15 million, 0 cents moved from First National to Bank of America. Confirmed. Automatic payroll for 340 employees. Payment institution changed from First National to Wells Fargo. Confirmed. The transactions took 47 seconds. Total assets relocated, $68,200,000, 0 cents. Every smartphone in the lobby pinged simultaneously as banking apps updated with news alerts about major account movements. Staff members glanced at their devices in confusion, then growing horror. Hendrix's computer screen erupted in red warning notifications. Major account closure alert. Corporate priority client status, ultra high net worth. Federal Regulatory Board member account. Community Reinvestment Act Advisory Committee. The system had finally recognized what human prejudice had blinded them to. Teller Morrison's face drained of color as her screen populated with Dr. Amara Williams's actual profile. Chief Executive Officer, Williams Tech Solutions. Board member, Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Congressional Advisory Committee on Community Banking. Author of The Williams Report on Discriminatory Lending Practices. The same report that had led to $2,300,000,000, 0 cents in federal penalties against discriminatory banks over the past 3 years. Security guard Thompson stepped backward instinctively. He knew exactly who she was now. His wife worked for the city's Community Development Department, funded partially by Williams Foundation grants. The Instagram Live host's voice cracked with excitement. "Oh my God, y'all, that's Dr. Amara Williams. She's on the Federal Reserve Board. She wrote the banking discrimination laws." Viewer count, 12,000, and climbing exponentially. Timestamp 2:53 p.m., 1 minute and 22 seconds remaining. Amara's phone rang. She answered on speaker, her voice carrying across the suddenly silent lobby. "Dr. Williams, this is Treasury Secretary Yellen's office. The Secretary is ready for your input on the Community Reinvestment Act enforcement discussion. Are you available?" She looked directly at Hendrix, her gaze steady and unblinking. "Actually, I'm experiencing a fascinating real-time case study in discriminatory banking practices right now. This may be quite relevant to our policy discussion." The livestream chat exploded. National news alerts began pinging on phones across the lobby. Banking while black trends globally within minutes. But now, with the added context of Diane Williams and Federal Reserve Board. Hendrix's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The security handbook slipped from her trembling hands, landing on the marble floor with a sharp crack that echoed through the silent lobby. But Amara wasn't finished. Her briefcase remained unopened at her feet, containing documents that would transform this confrontation from personal humiliation into systemic reform. Morrison frantically typed into her computer, trying to reverse the account closures, but the transfers were already processing through federal banking networks, millions of dollars flowing away from First National like water through broken dam. "Ma'am," Thompson said quietly, "I am so sorry. We didn't know we didn't." "You didn't know because you didn't ask," Amara replied, her voice carrying decades of similar experiences. "You saw clothing and skin color and made assumptions." Her phone buzzed with incoming calls. CNN Money, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. The story was transitioning from local discrimination incident to national banking scandal. The elderly customer who'd defended her earlier approached slowly. "Dr. Williams, I've read your work on community banking reform. This is absolutely disgraceful." Amara nodded acknowledgement but kept her focus on Hendrix, who looked like she might faint. "Patricia," Amara said, using the manager's first name with deliberate familiarity. "In approximately 30 seconds, I'm going to join a federal policy call about banking discrimination. Would you like me to use this branch as a case study for enforcement action?" The threat was delivered with the calm precision of someone accustomed to wielding institutional power rather than personal anger. Hendrix found her voice. "Dr. Williams, please, we can resolve this." "Resolve what? 12 years of microaggressions? Today's blatant discrimination? The assumption that a black woman in casual clothes must be a security threat?" The lobby filled with customers and staff who'd been drawn by the commotion. Word spread quickly. The woman they'd been discriminating against was a federal banking regulator with the power to shut down their entire operation. Timestamp, 2:54 p.m., 38 seconds remaining. But Amara still hadn't revealed her nuclear option. Her briefcase contained more than just policy papers and federal credentials. Inside lay documentation that would reshape not just this branch, but the entire First National banking system. A comprehensive federal investigation report she'd been preparing for months, documenting systematic discrimination across multiple branches, involving hundreds of customers, with potential damages exceeding $500 million, 0 cents. Today's incident wasn't an isolated case of prejudice. It was the final piece of evidence in a federal discrimination case that had been building for 3 years. The real twist wasn't that she had power. The twist was that she'd been investigating First National's discriminatory practices long before she walked through their doors today. This wasn't accidental discrimination. This was a carefully documented pattern of institutional bias that was about to face federal enforcement action. The briefcase at her feet contained subpoenas, federal investigation findings, and enforcement recommendations that would land on the desk of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency within hours. Hendricks and Morrison had just provided the final piece of evidence in their own federal discrimination case. But first, Amara had a phone call to take with the Treasury Secretary about banking reform, a call that would now include real-time evidence of exactly why such reform was desperately needed. Her voice remained calm as she addressed the Federal Reserve Board members waiting on the conference line. "Colleagues, I have a compelling example of why our enforcement mechanisms need immediate strengthening. Let me share what just happened to me in the past 10 minutes. The transformation was complete. Personal humiliation had become federal policy evidence. Individual discrimination had become systemic reform catalyst. And Patricia Hendricks was about to learn the difference between customer service complaints and federal banking violations. Within 6 minutes, Amara sat in the bank's executive conference room, facing First National's regional president David Charleston via emergency video connection. Her laptop displayed multiple federal government seals as she connected the call. Branch manager Hendricks flanked the screen alongside corporate VP Sarah Mitchell, both visibly perspiring despite the air conditioning. Outside, news crews had multiplied to 7 vehicles, their satellite dishes creating a technological forest in the parking lot. "Dr. Williams," Charleston began, his voice carefully controlled. "I want to apologize for any misunderstanding." "David," Amara interrupted, her tone carrying the authority of someone accustomed to boardroom dynamics. "Let's skip the corporate pleasantries. I have federal regulators on standby and documentation that spans 3 years of systematic discrimination at First National branches." She opened her briefcase with deliberate ceremony, removing thick folders marked with federal agency letterheads. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. "Let me share some interesting numbers," she continued, placing the first document on the conference table where the camera could capture its official federal seal. Federal Reserve Community Reinvestment Act Violation Report. Confidential. 47 documented cases of service discrimination at First National branches across 3 years. $2.3 billion 0-cent shortfall in Community Reinvestment Act requires community lending. Federal compliance rating needs substantial improvement. Recommended penalty range, $50, 0 cents, $200 million. Charleston's face paled as he read the document summary visible through the video feed. "This can't be accurate," he stammered. "Our compliance department reports no significant CRA violations." Amara's smile carried no warmth. "Your compliance department reports to you. This report comes from federal banking examiners who've been conducting undercover assessments for 18 months. She opened the second folder. Economic Impact Analysis. Williams Company's banking relationship. The numbers spoke with devastating clarity. Williams Tech Solutions. 340 employees. $47 million, 0 cents annual payroll. Formally processed through First National. Vendor network 89 minority-owned businesses with $23 million, 0 cents in First National accounts. Relocation pending. Community development projects, $67 million, 0 cents in loans originated through First National, contracts terminated. Williams Family Foundation, $15 million, 0 cents. Endowment plus $3 million, $200,000, 0 cents. Annual grant distributions. Relationship severed. Total economic impact of today's discrimination, Amara stated matter-of-factly, approximately $158 million, 0 cents in lost business relationships. Mitchell leaned forward desperately. Dr. Williams, surely we can discuss compensation for this unfortunate incident. Compensation? Amara's eyebrows lifted slightly. Sarah, this isn't a customer service complaint. This is a federal civil rights violation with criminal implications. She opened the third folder, revealing Department of Justice letterhead. Legal leverage assessment. Pattern and practice investigation. Recording of today's incident, 2.3 million views across platforms. Similar incidents documented at 12 First National branches over 18 months. Class action lawsuit potential, $500, 0 cents plus million exposure. Federal investigation automatic trigger, media coverage exceeding 1 million engagements achieved. Charleston's voice cracked slightly. What are you asking for? I'm not asking, David. I'm informing you what happens next. Amara's laptop chimed as additional federal officials joined the video conference. David Charleston, meet Federal Reserve Bank President Susan Wright and Treasury Deputy Secretary Michael Chen. They've been listening to this conversation with great interest. President Wright's voice cut through the tension. Mr. Charleston, the Federal Reserve takes Community Reinvestment Act violations extremely seriously. Dr. Williams has briefed us on systematic issues at First National that warrant immediate federal intervention. Deputy Secretary Chen added, we're particularly concerned about the pattern of discriminatory practices documented at your downtown branch. This appears to be exactly the behavior our new banking equity initiative was designed to address. Charleston realized he wasn't facing an angry customer, he was facing federal banking regulators with authority over his institution's charter, lending permissions, and operational licenses. Amara placed her final document on the table. Federal Enforcement Action, Proposed Settlement Terms. Gentlemen, she addressed both Charleston and the federal officials. I'm prepared to serve as the primary witness in a Department of Justice, pattern and practice discrimination case against First National. My documentation spans 3 years, includes 47 incidents across 12 branches, and involves damages exceeding $500 million, 0 cents, to minority business owners in your market. The conference room fell silent except for the hum of electronic equipment. However, she continued, federal litigation is expensive and time-consuming. I'm prepared to recommend alternative resolution if First National demonstrates immediate compliance with specific reform measures. Charleston leaned forward eagerly. What kind of measures? Amara's voice remained level, professional, devastating. Immediate compliance requirements. 1. Branch Manager Patricia Hendricks. Termination within 2 hours, with cause, no severance. 2. Teller Rebecca Morrison, suspended pending completion of 40-hour discrimination training program. 3. All branch staff. Mandatory bias training within 30 days, with federal oversight. 4. Public apology. Issued within 6 hours, approved by Williams' legal team and federal monitoring agencies. 5. Community Investment Fund. $10 million, 0 cents. Dedicated to minority-owned business loans at below-market rates. 6. Policy overhaul. Independent monitoring system installed within 60 days with real-time federal reporting. 7. Executive accountability. Charleston's compensation tied to branch equity performance metrics. The alternative, Deputy Secretary Chen interjected, is comprehensive federal investigation with potential criminal referrals for civil rights violations. President Wright added, Dr. Williams serves on our Community Banking Advisory Committee. Her testimony carries significant weight in federal enforcement actions. Charleston's options crystallized with brutal clarity. Accept the settlement terms or face federal prosecution that could destroy the bank's reputation and operational capacity. The federal investigation option includes, Amara continued with surgical precision, Department of Justice Civil Rights Division intervention, FDIC enforcement action, Congressional Banking Committee hearings, and permanent loss of the $68,200,000 0 cents in assets I relocated this afternoon. She glanced at her watch. You have 18 hours to implement the compliance measures. Federal regulators will be monitoring implementation through real-time reporting systems. Dr. Williams, Charleston pleaded, surely 18 hours isn't sufficient. David, I've been reasonable for 12 years. I was reasonable through 47 documented microaggressions at your branches. I was reasonable when your mortgage department quoted me interest rates 0.3% higher than white applicants with identical credit profiles. Today, reasonable ended. The federal officials exchanged glances. This wasn't just individual discrimination, it was systematic, institutional bias that violated multiple federal banking regulations. Mr. Charleston, President Wright concluded, you have 18 hours to demonstrate compliance with Dr. Williams' settlement terms. Failure to comply triggers automatic federal enforcement action under the Community Reinvestment Act, Fair Housing Act, and Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Amara closed her briefcase with quiet finality. Your choice, David. The video conference ended, leaving Charleston staring at a blank screen and the ruins of his institution's federal regulatory standing. Outside, the news crews prepared for live broadcasts that would transform local discrimination incident into national banking scandal. Inside, Patricia Hendricks sat in her office, updating her resume and wondering how 12 minutes of prejudice had destroyed her career and potentially her entire industry. Hour 1, Patricia Hendricks received her termination notice via certified email while news crews filmed through the bank's windows. Her discriminatory behavior, captured on multiple cameras and live-streamed to 2.3 million viewers, would become required viewing in banking compliance training programs nationwide. The security footage would be preserved as federal evidence, but its educational value extended far beyond legal proceedings. Business schools would dissect her decision-making process as a case study in how prejudice destroys careers and institutions. Hour 3, Rebecca Morrison entered the first of 40 mandatory bias training sessions. Her employment hung by the thinnest thread, dependent on successful completion and demonstrated behavioral change. The training program, designed by federal diversity experts, would cost First National $50,000, 0 cents per employee, but was non-negotiable under the federal settlement. Hour 6, First National issued its public apology through every major media outlet. First National Bank sincerely apologizes to Dr. Amara Williams for the discriminatory treatment she experienced at our downtown branch. This behavior violated our core values, federal banking regulations, and basic human dignity. We have terminated the responsible manager, implemented comprehensive staff retraining, and established a $10 million 0 cents community investment fund to prevent future discrimination. The apology, crafted under federal oversight, avoided corporate legal language in favor of direct acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Hour 18. Local news coverage evolved from outrage to systematic solutions. Dr. Williams granted one exclusive interview to Channel 7's Maria Santos, focusing on policy reform rather than personal vindication. This isn't about revenge, Amara explained to the camera. It's about creating systems that prevent discrimination before it happens, rather than punishing it afterward. The Williams Protocol emerged from federal regulatory discussions as a comprehensive anti-discrimination framework. Real-time monitoring system. AI-powered software analyzed customer service interactions for discriminatory language patterns. Automated alerts sent to branch managers and federal compliance officers. Monthly discrimination reports submitted directly to Federal Reserve oversight. Customer feedback integration with anonymous reporting mechanisms. Community Investment Fund. $10 million 0 cents dedicated exclusively to minority-owned business loans. Interest rates capped at 2.5% below market average. 72-hour approval process with streamlined documentation. Dr. Williams serving on unpaid advisory board with Federal Oversight Authority. Staff Transformation Initiative. 40-hour bias training mandatory for all customer-facing employees. Orderly assessments with job performance directly tied to equity metrics. Customer feedback systems with discrimination complaints triggering immediate federal investigation. Hiring preferences for diverse candidates with community banking experience. Physical environment changes. Lobby artwork featuring diverse business leaders and community success stories. Multilingual service materials and cultural competency resources. Banking equity commitment displayed prominently with QR codes linking to federal reporting systems. Anonymous discrimination reporting available through multiple digital channels. Executive accountability measures. Regional President Charleston's annual bonus tied directly to branch equity performance. Monthly reports submitted to Federal Reserve on discrimination prevention metrics. Quarterly public updates on community investment progress and outcomes. Board diversity requirement, 40% minority representation within 18 months. Marcus Thompson, the security guard who'd witnessed the original incident, was promoted to Community Relations Coordinator. His new role involved training staff on respectful customer interactions and serving as liaison between the bank and minority business organizations. Becca Morrison, after completing intensive training, became an unexpected advocate for customer equity. Her transformation from discriminatory teller to diversity champion illustrated the power of education over punishment. 3 months later, the Williams Protocol became federal banking policy. Dr. Williams testified before Congress, transforming her personal humiliation into national legislative change. Her congressional testimony resonated across the financial services industry. Discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's economically destructive. When banks discriminate, they lose customers, damage communities, and undermine the trust that makes banking possible. Measurable national impact. 47% reduction in banking discrimination complaints nationwide within 6 months. $2.3 billion, 0 cents in new minority business lending through Williams Protocol adoption. 156 banks voluntarily implemented Williams Protocol standards before federal mandate. Federal legislation, Banking Equity Act of 2025, requiring real-time discrimination monitoring. The original livestream video, now approaching 12 million views, served as training material in business schools, law schools, and corporate diversity programs worldwide. Dr. Williams' approach, data over emotion, policy over punishment, systematic change over personal revenge, established new standards for civil rights advocacy in the digital age. These real-life stories of transformation proved that lasting change emerges not from anger, but from strategic action backed by institutional knowledge and unshakable dignity. The ripple effects extended beyond banking into retail, healthcare, hospitality, and education sectors, where the Williams Protocol framework was adapted for industry-specific discrimination prevention. 6 months later, Dr. Amara Williams returned to the same First National branch. The transformation was immediately visible and profound. Maria Santos, the new branch manager, a Latina woman with 15 years of community banking experience, greeted every customer with genuine warmth and professional respect. The staff reflected the community's diversity, trained extensively, and genuinely engaged with their work. But the deeper changes ran beyond surface improvements. The bank had become a model for equitable banking practices nationwide, hosting federal regulators, academic researchers, and banking executives studying discrimination prevention. Personal impact stories. Marcus Thompson thrived in his community relations role, helping 47 minority-owned businesses secure loans totaling $4,700,000, 0 cents. Rebecca Morrison mentored new employees on customer equity, her transformation becoming a teaching case study. The brand's customer satisfaction scores ranked highest in the region, proving that equity improved service for everyone. National legacy. The Williams Protocol influenced 1,247 companies across multiple industries. Federal agencies incorporated the framework into enforcement training. International banking organizations requested Dr. Williams' consultation on discrimination prevention. Educational integration. Harvard Business School, strategic response to institutional discrimination. Howard University Law, digital age, civil rights advocacy. Spelman College, economic empowerment through systematic change. The original livestream remained required viewing for banking compliance officers nationwide, its 12 million views representing 12 million opportunities for awareness and change. Your role in these life stories. These touching stories of transformation happen when individuals refuse to accept discrimination as inevitable. Dr. Williams spent years building expertise that allowed her to transform humiliation into legislation. Document discriminatory treatment. Your smartphone creates legal accountability. Record respectfully but thoroughly. Report to appropriate agencies. Federal oversight requires citizen reporting. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and state civil rights agencies depend on your voice. Support equitable businesses. Economic pressure drives corporate behavior faster than moral arguments. Choose institutions demonstrating measurable commitment to equity. Share this story if you believe everyone deserves dignity in financial services. Your engagement amplifies voices that need hearing. Subscribe for more Black stories showcasing strategic resistance over passive acceptance. These real-life stories prove that preparation, meeting opportunity creates lasting change. Comment below. Have you witnessed discrimination in banking, retail, or professional settings? Your experience could catalyze the next systemic transformation. Share your story. Others need to know they're not alone in these experiences, and institutions need to know they're being watched. Remember, Dr. Williams didn't succeed through anger or accusations. She succeeded through expertise, documentation, and strategic action backed by institutional knowledge. What expertise are you building today? What systems are you learning to navigate? What power are you developing to create change, rather than just complain about problems? Your voice matters in these ongoing stories of progress. Together, we transform individual injustices into collective advancement. One documented incident, one strategic response, one systematic change at a time. Change happens when preparation meets opportunity. Be prepared.